Very good morning to all of you, and welcome to this webinar organized by WTS Dhruva Consultants, where we are going to talk about the recently introduced Cabinet Decision number 49 that has substantially relaxed the tax penalties, or as I would say, has substantially changed the entire landscape of tax penalties in the country. My name is Nimish Goyal. I'm a partner with WTS Dhruva Consultants, and I will be the lead moderator for today's session. Along with me is my colleague Deepak Agarwal. Deepak is an associate partner in Dhruva Consultants, and Deepak is going to be talking in detail on the intricacies of this new cabinet decision. This webinar is being recorded, so after the webinar is over, we will be sharing a copy of the presentation. In case you happen to find any technical difficulty in logging in or not hearing, then please feel free to reach out in the chat box and our technical team will help you with that. So this is how we have laid the agenda for today's discussion. Quickly, we will talk about the story so far in terms of how the entire penalties have been imposed until now and how organizations have been grappling with a lot of issues on managing their cash flows and tax compliances. After that, we will discuss some of the key reliefs which have been introduced by this cabinet decision. We have picked up some interesting case studies, illustrations. Our team has put up some of the very interesting scenarios which we have picked up from our actual matters that we have been dealing with the clients. And towards the end, we will pick up some of the key takeaways which you as heads of tax and as CFOs would want to hear under the old decision and under the new decision. We are going to wrap up this presentation in close to 50 minutes. And if we have some time left, then we will have a quick Q&A session as well. So let's hear the story so far.
VAT was introduced in the UAE in 2018, and all taxpayers are required to file their VAT returns and pay VAT. To ensure VAT compliances, stringent penalties provisions were prescribed. For example, to rectify a self-identified error, fixed penalty of 5,000, then 5% of differential tax, then 2%, 4%, and 1% daily, up to 300% was levied. If the error was identified by the FTA, 300%, enhanced to 350%. The exorbitant penalties resulted in discouraging taxpayers to rectify the self-identified errors. And, in certain cases, businesses were getting on the verge of shutting down. In addition, the high penalty amount was not in conjunction with any other tax jurisdictions and resulted in increased number of litigations. The new law promises lesser penalties and intends to encourage businesses to rectify the mistakes and pay the differential tax.
So with a 300% penalty, it was getting extremely difficult for organizations to manage their tax compliances. While on one side, organizations were trying to be truthful, they wanted to come clean in the eyes of the law and were filing BDs. On the other side, they were also facing significant working capital and cash flow issues because of the fact that in order to contest such penalties, they had to first pay to the revenue and then contest it. In addition to working capital issues, we have been privy to a lot of discussions, where the penalties would have run in hundreds of millions. And not only was a working capital an issue, even the mere survival of the businesses was getting an issue. And this was getting very difficult. And while the organizations were, trying to come clean, filing BDs and contesting the penalties, they were under the hope that probably the judiciary would listen to them more leniently. However, as probably all of you are aware, the Supreme Court came out with a verdict last year where they did not, they were not lenient, but they were actually aggressive, and they upheld that the 300% penalty was just and correct, and that added to the lot of problems to the current scheme of things for the taxpayers. Now, while all this was actually happening, this was actually discouraging the other organizations to rethink on whether they want to be truthful and whether they should file a VDs or not. I think, in our opinion, this new cabinet decision should bring a sigh of big relief to the taxpayers, because now they will encourage them to be more cleaner, file VDs without getting really bothered with high penalties. So, with this background, I'll ask my colleague Deepak to talk about the intricacies and the details of this cabinet decision and what has changed so far.
Sure. Thanks, Nimish. Morning, everyone. Welcome once again to this webinar on the new decision around penalties. Nimish, let me just kind of point out. I really like the header of your first slide, which says revised tax penalty is a blessing, and I could visibly see a question mark there. So let's hope that question mark does not remain, and we are able to kind of help our audience to understand better how this decision is going to help them. Before we dig deep into why there was a need in terms of revising these penalties, I thought we could use a very recent case which I came across. I'm not too sure a lot of us know. Before the pandemic, in the US, there was a law that you could not order alcohol or cocktail and get it delivered to your house. This was actually illegal. Therefore, when the entire pandemic thing came in, 30 states in US actually shut down restaurants and bars, but allowed delivery of cocktails, whoever is ordering online or through apps. Now, one may be surprised to hear that this is actually a 100-year-old law. Now, where did this start? This was actually started around 1920, where both at the country level and at the state level, laws were to be implemented. So there were states which had categorized themselves as dry states. Some had categorized themselves as wet states. Therefore, typically a person who's in a dry state would just drive down to wet state and kind of purchase and get back with the alcohol. So this was kind of a loophole that was plugged by implementing a law, and that's where the entire banning on the cocktail to go was introduced. But again, I'm sure people will be surprised. America being a developed country, it has embraced alcohol. The hospitality scene is fantastic. Why would there be such a law? Two things here. Historically, the law around alcohol has been kind of a mess in the complete country of America. To give you a few examples, some states do not allow sale of liquor on Sundays. There are some states which categorically state that stores run by states government should only be selling liquor. There are quirkier laws which talk about the fact that convenience store can only sell warm liquor, warm beer. They cannot refrigerate the beer, which is illegal. There are laws which talk about, you can, in a supply chain, you can only be as a manufacturer, distributor, or retailer. The second part was, there was always a political pressure or public safety or business lobbying where these laws could not be changed. But that's where, the pandemic came in, and the New York governor, Andrew Cuomo, was the first person who actually banned restaurants and bars from operating, but he immediately kind of allowed the delivery of cocktails and liquor. Why I mentioned this, UAE is in a very similar position. Although the VAT law is not 100 years old, it's 3 years old, but the penalties were already kind of burdening the businesses, and then this pandemic came in where it became very difficult for businesses to operate. And as Nimish said earlier, we've actually seen cases where businesses shut shops. That's where I believe, the UAE government, looking at the stringent penalties, the quantum of penalties, the entire COVID scenario, it decided that this was the need of the hour, and therefore the new decision in terms of reduced penalties, a possibility of an amnesty scheme was kind of introduced. That's where, this decision is not really more from a penalties perspective or an amnesty perspective, but I think it's a forward-looking decision where there will be a lot of encouragement to the taxpayers to come forward and get themselves a clean slate in terms of rectifying their errors. It will also encourage foreign investments where people who are looking to invest in UAE but were kind of scared, so if I were to use that word, from a VAT compliance perspective. And obviously, if I look at a global level, the penalties were very high in UAE. Therefore, there was always a need of reducing these penalties. Now, before we get on to the detailed discussions around, the penalties, we thought we could have a poll here to understand, on the question. So, Mayuresh, can we have the poll question, please? So the question is, the new decision, will it help you as or your company in closing some of your current matters? And we kind of listed down some of the matters, and if you could select one of it, whichever is relevant to you. You'll just wait for another 10 seconds. Yeah. Yes. So, I'm not really surprised with the second highest, which is an identified issue for VD, for which a VD is required. Actually, I'm seeing a lot of companies are in this situation where they've identified issues, but were still waiting because of the entire, scare of the fact that if I file a VD, the penalties will go really back to 300%. And also interesting to see, nothing specific as on date, but I'm sure as we go through this particular presentation, you will have some thoughts or points to consider while you are wanting to use this particular decision. Right. Sorry. Yes. Now, what we've done in the next few slides is, this particular slide will just run through what has been the penalty provisions under the old law and what are proposed penalties under the new law. And then we'll have some illustrations around how penalties will pan out under the old decision and how will they pan out in the new decision. Further, we have slides on amnesty, which we'll kind of discuss in a bit of detail. So if you look at the erstwhile penalty decision, if there was a late payment, we used to call it 241 penalty. Now that's where, for the first 7 days, depending on what taxable position you are, if you are in a payable position and you've not really paid the tax on the date of filing the return, then you were kind of looking at a penalty of 2% for the first 7 days, 4% for a month, and then beyond that, it was 1% daily, but capped to 300%. So again, 300% was the final penalty on any late payment. The other penalty around incorrect filing of returns, this was 3,000 for the first incorrect return, and if it was a repetitive offense, it was increased to 5,000. Again, penalties, if you look historically in UAE, have been distinguished as pre-tax audit and post-tax audit, right? So for the VDs filed where there was no audit done by the authorities, there was a 5% penalty, which was specified by the earlier decision. Now, if there was a case where, let's say, the audit has been initiated. Now, again, the law distinguished between the fact whether there has been a notification given to you of the notice, or information has been sought, or the actual audit has been started. So depending on what stage of the audit you were, penalties were defined. So if you look at the bottom left of your screen, if there was a notification issued to you for audit, then the penalties were 30%. But if the audit was started in terms of seeking information, or the officers have started visiting your office, the penalty increased to 50%. So those were, typical penalties for VDs under the erstwhile decision. Now coming to the new decision, yeah, this is pretty happy slide for me if I were to put it that way, because Nimish did mention the Supreme Court decision where if you filed a VD, the Supreme Court did say that you are actually just revising your original return. There is no current non-compliance. It dates back to the date of the original return. Therefore, your penalties will be starting from the date of earlier non-compliance. Now, that is the biggest relief that we see in this decision. So what I'm trying to say here is, if let's say you identify an error which relates to, let's say 18, you file a VD, and within 20 days of filing the VD, if you pay the penalties, there will be no, sorry, if you pay the tax, there will be no penalties. But if you fail to pay the tax within 20 days of filing the VD, there is a penalty of 2% for the first month, and then post that 4% per month, up to a maximum of 300%. Right now, this is a very big relief. If you look at it, earlier it was 1% per day. Now it is 4% per month. Now, if you know, optically, if I were to put you, the 300% got exhausted in the earlier regime within a year. We have 365 days in a year, so 300% could get covered within a year. But now, under the 4% per month penalty, this could at least take 5 years, for you to reach that 300% cap. So that's a big relief from a late payment penalty perspective. Moving ahead, incorrect returns, again, there's some relief. 3,000 has been reduced to 1,000, and 5,000, which was for repetitive offenses, has been reduced to 2,000. The next two bit, which is where I mentioned, where penalties are determined based on whether you've been audited or not. There is again a distinction in the new decision as well. So what is mentioned here is, in case of VDs which were filed before any tax audit was initiated, they've kind of given a slab wise penalty. So if you look at the amber bullet on your screen, it says 5% within 1 year. So what we mean here is, so if you, let's say, file a VD and within 1 year you are paying a tax. So what I mean is, let's say 2018 is the year where the error relates to, right? So it says if you pay the tax relating to that error within 4 years of that error, or 3 years or 2 years, then you have to look at this table. So 5%, if the error relates to 20 and you pay it within 1 year, then your penalty is 5%. But let's say if it relates to 2018, then we are talking about within 4 years, and therefore your penalty becomes 30%. Now, this is again a mandatory penalty which kind of needs to be paid. The last bit is where the tax authorities have initiated the tax audit. Now, they have not really distinguished between a fact whether you've received the notification, or there has been a request for information, or the officers are doing a site visit. They've just clearly said 50% upon starting of audit, and then again 4% monthly if they identify any unpaid tax from the return filing date. So if you take an example, let's say if there's an error in January 19 and there's an audit, then you will be slapped with a 4% per month penalty starting January 2019. Similarly, for tax not refunded from the date of tax refund. So, in substance, in summary, these are the provisions that have been kind of revised, or new provisions have been added. On the face of it, I think this really makes a very good slide to read and understand, and I'm sure businesses will be really relieved from a compliance and a VAT penalty perspective. The next two slides, what we've done is we've just kind of built in two scenarios. One is a VAT payable. So what we've looked at here is, let's say for the month of January 2018, there was a short payment of tax to the tune of 100,000. And how will it pan out under the new decision, where an audit has been initiated and where no audit has been initiated? So to the left of your screen, now, if I were to transpose the earlier decision to the case under hand, where you've short paid 100,000 for the month of January 2018, if I look at the current penalties, before the new decision, there would be a return filing penalty, assuming it's a repetitive offense, of 5,000. percentage penalty of 5%. If you go back to the earlier, if you go back to the earlier slide where I mentioned there will be a variable penalty of 5%, that is 5,000, and then your 241 penalty capped to 300,000. It being January 18, you've already crossed that 300% limit. So if you look at this, the total is 310,000 dirhams, right? So against a short payment of 100,000 dirhams, you are paying another 310,000 dirhams as your penalty under the erstwhile decision. Now, if I look at the new decision, right, the fixed penalty on the incorrect return has been reduced to 2,000. So that brings us to 2,000. Percentage penalty, that's where, we were talking about the slab-wise penalty. Considering that this is January 18, the tax payment will be done in the 4th year, right? So we'll have to look at the range of 3 to 4 years, and that's why the percentage penalty is 30, and which kind of works out to 30,000. There'll be no late payment penalties, assuming the fact that once you file the VD, within 20 days you will be able to pay the tax. That's where there is no 2% or 4% penalty in this particular illustration. So if you total the new decision penalty, it's a meager amount of 32,000 dirhams. Now it's absolutely visual that the penalties have become 1/10 of what they were earlier, right? Now, I just need to be mindful of one point here, that this is under an assumption that you're able to pay the tax within 20 days of filing your VD. But I'm sure businesses will generally be in a position to pay tax within 20 days of filing the VD. But if that be not be the case, then we'll have to kind of time the filing of the VD to ensure that we have enough cash, right? But for some reason, a person is not able to pay the tax within 20 days of filing the VD, then what we are looking at is the 2% and the 4% penalty, 4% monthly penalty, which will get calculated on the 100,000 short payment. Now, moving on to the illustration where we've assumed that the tax audit has been initiated. Now, what would have happened in the erstwhile decision, right? The incorrect return filing penalty of 5,000 will continue. 50% is the variable penalty that will be levied upfront. Then there will be a 2% penalty, 4% penalty, and a 1% daily, capped to 300,000. So these are all mandatory penalties. And in the earlier decision, you would have ended up paying 355,000 dirhams against a tax liability of 100,000. So again, why we want to bring out the point here in terms of audit and no audit is kind of something to be kept in mind. And when Nimish comes to the final part of the slide in terms of key takeaways, we'll be stressing on the fact around what's the importance of getting your house in order. The last bit in terms of the new decision. So if you look at it, repetition incorrect return filing is 2,000. 50% penalty, which is again confirmed fixed, will be applied at 50,000. 4% monthly penalty will be again mandatory. Now, considering it's a January 2018 short payment, we've calculated 4% per month, and that works out to 188,000. Now, if you total this, it comes down to 240,000. Now, comparatively, under the erstwhile decision and under the new decision, the penalties have reduced. I wouldn't say very drastically, but I'm sure people will be happy with this reduced penalty as well. So, this was a slide where we thought we could take you all through in terms of how your short payments will pan out under the new decision. Moving to the next scenario, we've kind of considered a refundable position. Now, just to set the context right, what we've assumed here is that, let's say you had a input tax credit appearing in your return of 1 million dirhams, which for some reason had to be reduced by 100,000. So you kind of have to adjust your input tax by 100,000. So you have to revise your return by 100,000. So there is no short payment here. It's just that your receivable from the authorities has reduced by 100,000. You haven't actually applied for a refund here in this case. Again, VD filed pre-audit, post-audit. Now, in the current regime, which is the current decision, the old decision, there was a state penalty of 5,000 that was applicable. there was no percentage penalty or late payment penalty, because of the fact that the FTA is not really losing any revenue here. It's just a number that is appearing in your return, and you've kind of reduced that number. Therefore, there was no loss to the revenue, and I believe that's where the penalties are lesser in the erstwhile decision. Now, if you move to the new decision, the penalties for incorrect return filing is 2,000. Surprisingly, there's a 30% penalty. Now, if you look at the example, we've taken January 2018, the month in which you've kind of taken excess input tax. Now, if I look at the law, it just says 30% is the penalty that you need to pay on the tax difference, right? Since I fall in the bracket of 3 to 4 years, I need to pay this 30% penalty, although I am in a receivable position. So under the new decision, your penalties when you are in a refundable position increases from 5,000 to 32,000 in this example, right? So kind of a bad news for people who are generally in a refundable position, people who are making supplies, zero rated supplies. So one needs to be mindful of this particular illustration. If we look at the same case where this particular issue has been identified by the tax authorities through an audit, right? So nothing changes under the erstwhile decision. We continue to pay a penalty of 5,000 just for correcting the return. But again, things really change when it comes to the new decision. Repetitive offense return filing penalty of 2,000, and there is a fixed penalty of 50%, which is 50,000 of the incorrect credit that you've taken. So your penalty has increased to 52,000. So again, I would like to stress on the fact that in a refundable position, your penalties are actually bringing you down. If you've kind of missed any input tax in a refundable position and you want to rectify it and you want to claim it back, not claim it back, sorry, if you want to reduce your input tax, then you are potentially looking at a significant penalty.
Deepak, I have a question for you here.
Yes, Nimish.
Now, this looks a little weird. When we are talking about a new decision which is substantially reducing the penalties, then why would the legislators want to draft something which is increasing the penalty in a situation where you are in a refundable position? Because earlier, as of if today I'm filing a VD, then I'm not supposed to pay any penalty other than 5,000. Do you think this is a drafting error, or maybe because we are looking at the unofficial English translation of the Arabic document somewhere?
I think, yeah, Nimish, I see that, that's an interesting point, and that's where, it's very important for us to understand why have we kind of put these penalties on the screen, because of the fact that, the terms that the new decision uses is difference in the tax or the tax error. It does not really say unpaid tax. Whereas if you look at the VD's penalties, they've been continuously using the term unpaid tax. So therefore, I think you're right in the sense this looks to be some kind of a drafting error, or it could be an Arabic translation, which needs to be checked. But you're absolute bang on in terms of noting the fact that in a refundable position, you are kind of penalizing a taxpayer, whereas in a tax paying position, you are reducing the burden. But yeah, I agree with your point, and this is, I think, something kind of needs to be looked at in the English official, unofficial, official version that comes from the FTA.
Maybe the companies that are in a refundable position today, who are looking at filing VDs, I think it could be a good case for them to reach out to FTA and seek a clarification on whether this is actually the intent, or is it something which is lost in the translation.
I agree. Yeah, that's a good suggestion. Yeah. Now, we thought we'll just highlight to everyone some of the points that, in fact, as soon as the decision was out, our phones started ringing and people were kind of asking all these questions. So we thought we'll just summarize some of the issues or questions that our existing clients have been kind of posing to us. So the first question that immediately came up from a lot of our clients was, what happens to, the existing matters? Whether they are at a reconsideration level or at TDRC or at the federal court. So how do we look at those? Can we approach the tax authorities and kind of discuss with them? And if we need to close the case, can I look at closing those cases by paying the penalties, reduced penalties? That's again, a question mark. As on today, we do not have a yes or no to this. So we'll have to wait and watch when it comes to matters which are already under litigation. The other three, which run diagonal into the entire slide around VDs. So we've kind of, being approached where VDs have been filed and approved, right? But the tax has not been paid. So the question comes in here, can I go back to the authorities, check with them, if they would be happy for, kind of withdrawing the approval and allowing me time after 28th June to avail the reduced penalty benefits. Similarly, VD filed and not approved. So could I go back to the authorities and check with them? Will they be happy to kind of allow me to reject this VD and wait for the decision to come into picture? Again, on refundable position, as we discussed, as we saw in the illustration, there is a potential penalty that will get levied. So one will have to really decide whether it makes sense. If it relates to a position where you are net receivable from the tax authorities, would it be feasible or ideal to file your or your VDs pre the implementation of the new decision? So that is something from a refund perspective one needs to be mindful of. Moving on to the amnesty scheme, although the scheme, the title of the slide is amnesty, I am not too sure where we got this word from, but that's how I think everybody's picked it up as amnesty scheme. I would have been more happy to call this as a discount scheme, which is kind of, ingrained into the spirit and culture of UAE, especially talking about traffic fines, where there's always a discount scheme which comes in at the last minute. So I would more call this as a discount scheme rather than as a amnesty scheme. So what the scheme really talks about is that if you have any unpaid penalties under the old regime, this particular scheme will allow you to close those matters by paying a penalty only of 30%. So assuming your penalty under the old regime, which the tax authorities has levied, was $1 million, then what this decision says is you could pay 300,000 dirhams and just kind of reduce the entire litigation burden. Having said that, this particular Article 3 in the decision has kind of laid down some conditions which kind of need to be met and complied with. The first one is very obvious: the penalties have to be under the old regime. The other two are linked in a way. If there are any unpaid taxes relating to those penalties, those have to be paid pre 31st December 2021. Similarly, your 30% penalty, which is the discounted penalty, should also be paid by 31st December 2021. So that's the discount scheme in sum and substance. Now, we did have some points here. The first point being, let me mention to you that the decision has a provision under Article 3 which says that the procedure around the entire scheme will be notified by the FTA. So one needs to be very mindful of the fact that what are the nuances that will be built into this procedure if you really need to get into the amnesty scheme. The other thoughts, we thought would be important and relevant for everybody on the webinar is, can, as a taxpayer, so if I, let's say, agree, if I go back to my example of 300,000, can I go and challenge this 300,000 under the amnesty scheme? Right. So if I pay the 300,000, do I still have the right to challenge this penalty of 300,000 dirhams? Similarly, let's say FTA wants to challenge your right of amnesty, right? So it may so happen that you from the very beginning were aware of an error which was there from January 18, but for some reason, known or unknown, you've not rectified it. So can the FTA go back and say there was a malified and I will not allow you to kind of look at this amnesty scheme? Right now, from our experience, what we've seen is generally such schemes have an overarching principle to say that once you pay the tax and the penalties under an amnesty scheme, then there will be no further questions asked on the decision to close this matter. But surprisingly, there is no such provision which is appearing in the new decision. Although, in our view, it seems the idea is to kind of close these matters. But again, VAT being very new in this region, it would be worthwhile kind of wait for this clarity to come from FTA. The last point, whether the 70% will get calculated on all the penalties, whether it's a VD penalty, whether it's administrative penalty, or are we looking at only the administrative penalties or the VD penalties? So that's something we need to kind of wait for the procedure document from the FTA to come and clarify all these things.
Deepak, sorry, one more question.
Yes.
If I can ask you is on the, so do you think there is an interpretation which is possible saying that the law that was applicable on the date when the error was identified should apply?
Mhm.
So what I'm trying to ask you is that in case the errors were identified in 2018, we had the old decision and not the new decision.
Correct.
There a possibility of taking such an interpretation? And the reason, Deepak, I'm asking is because I come from India where all these issues have been
Correct.
discussed at length, and we do also have a lot of judicial precedents. But UAE being a new country, we don't have such precedents.
Right. So I think, Nimish, that question is relevant, and I believe what you just said, even from India and other jurisdiction perspective, my experience has been, generally you kind of have to look at the law when the error is detected. So, for example, if you detect an error today in May 2021, which goes back to, let's say, 18 or 19, you need to look at the penalty provisions existing on the date of error. That's my view. Obviously, again, going back to the country India, what you referred is where, again, at a higher court level, there have been decisions where they've very categorically said you need to look at the penalties on the date of the error, not going back to when the error relates to.
Yeah.
In fact, one related point here was around, sorry, maybe I'll just discuss it once we come to the key takeaways. Yes, so that really brings us to the latter part of our discussion around other reliefs that closes onto VDs and the discount schemes. Now, not really a lot of things to take away from this slide, but yes, there have been significant reductions in the penalties. So if I were to broadly take you all through failure to keep records, we've kind of seen a lot of cases where, let's say an excise case where there were no records for 17-18 or 18-19. So that kind of has been reduced. Failure to keep records, 10,000. The first penalty remains same, but if it's a repetitive offense, it gets reduced to 20,000. Delay in registration, it's been halved from 20,000 to 10,000. Delay in deregistration. This is an interesting one actually, because we've seen a lot of companies who are part of a VAT group. There are entities which have kind of discontinued doing business, or they've been merged or dissolved or something, but they fail to deregister such entities. So there is a penalty of 10,000. But again, if you look at it, they've reduced it or rather staggered it to say 1,000 immediately and 1,000 monthly up to 10,000. So you need to be mindful of the fact that if you've already lost 10 months by not deregistering, your penalty still remains at 10,000. Failure for amendments, this is again very common where companies have not really updated their directors details, or let's say the trade license, etc. So that's where the first time penalty continues to be 5,000, but the 15,000 has been reduced to 10,000. Failure to inform about legal representative, although we've not really seen practical cases around companies appointing legal representative, but still it's kind of reduced from 20,000 to 10,000. Displaying prices inclusive of tax. Again, we've actually seen practically where the tax officers visiting restaurants and looking at the menu where there was just a price, did not say whether it's inclusive of tax or exclusive of tax, and they will issue a memo immediately on the spot to say that you're non-compliant with a penalty of 15,000. Now that stands reduced to 5,000. The last bit again is very important from a tax invoice or tax credit note format perspective. The earlier penalty was 5,000 for each document. That's been reduced to 2,500 for each discovered case. Yes, so Nimish, over to you for the key takeaways.
Deepak, thank you so much. I think this is very, very insightful. And before we take the key takeaways and the way forward, why don't we just take a quick poll and check what's the state of affairs of the participants in their respective organizations. So can we have the poll, please? So the question is, which of the following statements aptly describes your state of VAT and excise compliances? You are fully prepared, you are comfortable, but few tax positions bother you. You really don't know, and you have sleepless nights. We'll just wait for maybe 15 seconds for audience to go. Yeah, can we have the results, please? So it's very heartening to see 22% of the people. Sorry, if we can go back to the results. To that they are fully prepared for the audit, and 59%, almost 60% saying that they are comfortable, but few tax positions bother them. Sleepless nights only 1%, which is good to see. So just going on the last slide on the key takeaways, I think the verdict is very clear and is in line with the global best practices, that it is now the right time for organizations to look for their past errors, clean up their records, and start filing VDs. I think a lot of organizations was just sitting on the fence, waiting for the right time, and that was rightly because a lot of the organizations which had filed VDs were finding it so difficult to manage their working capital and the tax and the penal consequences, that now it's the right time to look at the historic VAT returns, start quantifying the tax exposure, and then take a conscious call of what needs to be done as part of the VD, what needs to be done as part of the clarifications. As Deepak discussed, that there could be a possibility that filing a voluntary disclosure under the current decision would probably be more beneficial than going for the new decision, which substantially reduces the penalty. I think what is very clear is that if you don't do this activity now, and if you end up being audited, then the penalties are much harsh, and also the ability to successfully litigate these penalties once you're audited with the judiciary would probably be very remote, because currently what was happening was that despite the fact that you were suo moto coming out clean, you were almost at par with those organizations that were not doing a VD. Whereas now, under the new decision, if you are coming out clean, the penalties have substantially reduced. But if you are not coming out clean, and if the audit is picked up for you, and then if the FT officers impose penalties, then the chances of you litigating and successfully defending them could be very, very low. And therefore, it is important that appropriate audit steps are taken. The audit teams are geared up. Consultants are hired to just ensure that everything is sorted. Although I see 22% of the organizations of the participants being fully ready, which is very heartening. And then and some of the points to ponder which Deepak discussed, that there are certain uncertainties even on the penalty positions, whether penalty would apply retrospectively, whether penalty should apply under the new decision. Those kind of decisions can also be talked with FTA, seek appropriate clarification, so that a conscious decision is then taken whether to go under the current decision, or whether one should go under the revised or the new cabinet decision. So with this, we would like to just end the session, and we will have a quick Q&A because we only have 5 minutes left. So I'll just pick up some of the questions that I can see in the chat box. Deepak, one question says that I have paid my tax and I have paid the penalty. Can I seek a refund of the penalty? So I think this is more like, because I've been truthful, and why should he not be given the benefit of the amnesty scheme?
I empathize. I empathize whoever has asked this question. But to just put this context, the concept of tax neutrality, which is actually envisioned in the OECD guidelines, has a number of dimensions to it. It says there has to be an absence of discrimination in a tax environment that is unbiased and impartial. There is an elimination of undue tax burdens and disproportionate or inappropriate compliance costs for businesses. So these are the parameters that OECD guidelines talk about when they talk about discriminating. So in this case, I'm sure the person who's asked this question feels discriminated on the fact that he or she is truthfully kind of complied by paying the tax penalties. Yes, this does go against the guidelines of tax neutrality. But having said that, historically, wherever such amnesty schemes have been introduced, some people have to kind of bear the burden of being discriminated.
Sure. There is one question which says, can you please clarify on the difference between the old and the new compliance penalties like tax invoices? What is the difference between per document and each discovered case? I think this we have already experienced, Deepak.
Yes, absolutely. So, Nimish, coming to actually first looking at the old decision, there was a penalty of 5,000 per document. Although on paper it was 5,000 per document, but we did not actually see FTA implementing this. They generally kind of issued a memo to say 5,000 dirhams is the penalty for your non-compliance. Now, coming to the new decision, what it says is discovered case. Now, the way I look at it is, let's take an example where your invoices have continuously have one particular error. Let's say the description of the supply is not clearly coming. Right now, if I look at it that way, to say that let's say if I issued 100 invoices in a week and that error continues to be there in each invoice, I think I could look at it as a discovered case. So the error on these 100 invoices should be considered as a discovered case, rather than again looking at the fact whether I should do 2,500 as per document. Or so the discovered case should be looked at from a error perspective, I believe, not really from a document perspective.
Right, and also practically, Deepak, we have seen that whenever the FT officers would have come to the premises, if they would have picked up only 5 invoices, then they had never imposed penalty on the set of entire invoices. The ones which were picked up were the ones that were imposed penalty on.
Yeah.
Penalty is already charged, whether relief can be claimed under the scheme.
Penalty is already charged. Does it go back to the first question, I believe?
Yeah, that's the only question that they've asked. There's no more details.
Okay, maybe then we need more clarity. We can go to the next question, Nimish.
What are the chances of companies being re-audited if FTA has done a desktop audit and refund was approved?
So again, this is a very interesting question. Now, when you say desktop audit, again, what we've seen practically is, and I think from a court's decision also, where we saw that when you talk about audit, it has to be a formal audit. You really cannot have something like a review audit or a desktop audit. So for you to fall into that, basket of saying you are being audited, there has to be a formal letter from the FTA to tell you that you are being audited. Just because you filed a refund and there is a review happening of your refund application, you cannot say that you are being audited.
Yeah, that makes sense, Deepak. Are the new changes with retrospective effect, which obviously, it's not the retrospective effect, it's effective from most 28th of June. Then there is one question which says that I have filed a clarification, and the result from the FTA is still awaited. Should I file the VD now or should I wait for the clarification? I think it's subjective
situation. So it's quite subjective. First of all, depending on when you file the clarification and when you get the answer from the FTA. So if you get the answer from the FTA, let's say today or tomorrow, then you have 20 days to kind of file the VD. So therefore, if the error is identified, you need to look at those 20 days, and therefore you may fall in the current regime. Right, but I'm sure there could be a case to build up and say that yes, I got the clarification today or tomorrow. I had to do some internal information gathering to quantify it, and then you could move it to the new decision. I'm not in any way suggesting any planning here, but yeah, that's how practically you'll have to look at it. But yes, depending on if again the point here is what are the quantum of tax liabilities or tax we are looking at penalties we are looking at here. It's very subjective. We need to look at it on a case basis.
Sure. Deepak, we have just 1 minute, so I'll take one quick last question. What about VD for entities which have refund position like schools?
Yes. So, we did discuss a lot of things around refund cases. And as we kind of concluded on the fact that if your receivable amount is to be reduced, then we are in a position that we may end up paying more penalty, right, than the current decision. Therefore, it will be apt that you kind of rectify your return immediately without waiting for the new decision. That's what I would suggest from a refundable position perspective.
Correct, correct. And also we discussed how the drafting error could then be, looked at. If
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you, Deepak. That was very helpful. So, with this, we would like to close the webinar. I would like to thank all the participants for taking out time for this session. We hope you would have found this session interesting and educative. If you have any further questions, you can reach out to us, to our team members, and we would be very happy to have a look at them. So, thank you once again, and have a very nice day.
Thank you, everyone.